Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. We'll be starting in just a few moments. I do have an icebreaker question for you. If you were ice cream, what flavor would you be and why? You can go ahead and put your response in the chat button on the bottom panel of your screen with your response. Alan, you can participate too.
Yeah, well, I think I'll pass.
Okay.
Or it's Rocky Road, one of the two. So
Ooh. Nothing with coconut for me. Otherwise, I pretty much like any ice cream. And Sherman's is the best. Chocolate because it's the best. Yes, I can repeat the question. If you were ice cream, what flavor would you be and why? You can type your responses in the chat button at the bottom of the screen panel. Nice, Mike. Mr. Softy Vanilla Chocolate Swirl. Mint? Yeah, mint is good too.
that's good. Yep.
All right, everyone. Thank you for your participation. We're going to go ahead and get started. Today, we are going to have our CEO presenting on Innovating with Copilot, an executive briefing. Alan Wine will be the presenter. And as a reminder, we do encourage you to ask questions during our presentation. So please feel free to type them into the questions box, and that is the Q&A button at the bottom of your panel. And we'll have Q&A time at the end of our session for that. So now I'm going to turn it over to Alan to kick off our presentation.
Thanks, Angie. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. As Angie said, my name's Alan Wine. The reason I started our presentation with this logo sitting up there is not just because we wanted to fill a screen, but that is the logo you need to be looking for in any of your Office suite or your Business Central screens, because that tells you that Copilot is there for you and ready to be working. So what I want to do today is we're going to talk about at a high level how your Copilot's actually beneficial to your company and why it makes sense and why the ROI is so incredibly easy to come up with and how your team can benefit it. And so we'll go through a series of introductions. I'm going to talk about Copilot itself, not at a super high, deep technical level, but just at a technical level enough so everybody gets a good picture of it if you don't. And then, some of the benefits and the real world examples that we've had for my team and my company, because we've been rolling this out. We're in the same boat that everybody else is in this world with Copilot, with AI. It stormed onto our plates, 6 months ago. And it's been building for years, but then it just exploded out into the real world. And as people, especially in my team, we've really noticed it as people have started playing with it on their own. And then we've got Copilot built in here for them to work with. The value proposition is massive for them, and they're saving a significant amount of time every week using this tool. So I'll talk through some real world examples that have come from our company. And we'll talk about how you would roll it out inside your company also. So what is Copilot? So, it is it's a tool that's highly complex, but it's incredibly simple to use. And first and foremost, its job is to take care of the mundane tasks and the repetitive tasks. Okay, that's your target market, if you will. That's stuff that as a tool to be used on a daily basis, it's really going to be able to perform those functions for you. And the nice thing, though, is up until this point in our world, we would go to Excel and we'd have a whole bunch of data on an Excel spreadsheet, and we'd have to try and remember how to create a pivot table, because if you're like me, I make a pivot table 4 times a year, right? It's I want to analyze the data, and I'm cutting and pasting and doing this, and I'd really like to be able to tell the system what I want, but I've got to go through prompts. I've got to go through menu options. I got to be smart enough to know where it's at in the menu. The difference here is I get to go to Copilot, fire it up inside Excel, and highlight my area of data and say, build me a pivot table and put a chart on another sheet. And it does it. And I literally have to ask it that way. Okay, we're going to talk about prompts here, and you've heard it in other webinars we've been doing, but that's what the prompt. You don't have to say please, you don't have to say excuse me, Copilot, and even though we all seem to do it, we all seem to say thank you to a machine. You don't have to say thank you afterwards. You can build me a pivot table from the highlighted data and put a bar chart on the following, second sheet, and it will do that for you. And it's a natural language interaction. And that's what we've been headed towards for a number of years with Microsoft's tools. But it just makes it easier than going, I got to point and click and find and do this. And don't forget to set this setting and wait, I need this filter set first. It just does all that in the background. And I'm going to have some examples of how it does that, and personally, how I've used it and how my team has. It's just a time saver for anybody using a computer. We all sit there and do these things every day. We search through emails. We try to remember what happened on the last Teams meeting. We get as a CEO, I get the report from my accounting department, and then I have to kind of wade through it and figure out what I wanted to see and what I didn't. And if it's not right, I got to send it back. All these things can pretty much go away because now I can ask Copilot to do those things for me. So the inner workings at the 100,000-foot level, if you will, is Copilot is a program. I mean, let's not kid anybody. Artificial intelligence is a program. Somebody wrote that program, at least in the beginning. But the difference between a normal program, such as a report generator that I would utilize to build a report, or if I went in and did a modification to your system, that's coding, right? I'm going to build a program to do a specific task or group of tasks. And that's all it's ever going to do. That's it. It's done. Until I go in and change it, it's done. What AI does and what Copilot is doing is saying, okay, you asked me to do this task and I did it. And I'm going to remember that I did it. And the next time you ask me to do a similar task, I'm going to remember that one and I'm going to see the differences that you asked on this similar task. And I'm going to learn from that and I'm going to build a better program or a better response. And then maybe you'll ask me a third time on something similar and I get it completely wrong. And Copilot gets it wrong and it can. So, it's a Copilot, it's not the pilot. We tell it, hey, that's wrong, here's why, and try again. It learns from all three of those instances towards becoming better at providing you the information in a highly accurate and very speedy way. And so it's not only learning on its own and getting better at its responses, but it's also really strong at looking at data and looking at documents and looking at videos and pulling out the pertinent parts of that and giving it back to you. So you can do a prompt like, hey, show me the last leadership call or look at the last leadership call and give me a summary of what was said. And is there any to-dos that I need to do? And I no longer now have to watch that entire hour and a half to find out, what my team assigned me to do. It can do it for me. And it can come back and go, here's what I found. And so it can analyze and summarize the content. If I point it to something, it can analyze and summarize. And then it can also suggest better ways maybe to present the information. So if I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation, it'll build it, but I could say, hey, look at slide 12 and give me a better option there. Make it warmer, make it colder, make it more analytic, and it will give me options for that. And it might even say, I would also suggest that you look at this. We've got in our company, we have a forecasting spreadsheet that we use naturally. And I've been working with it quite a bit in the last 2 months, and Copilot will pop up every once in a while on that spreadsheet and go, if you did this on this slide and on this sheet and on that sheet, you would have a better product. And I can take those choices or I can ignore them. That's up to me. It's a simple mouse click and it goes away. But the point is, it's looking at that and trying to make my information better. So that's huge if you think about it. You no longer have to go to SharePoint and dig around, try and find that last document that you had and you don't know about. And what do I do and how do I find it? And Copilot can rapidly find that stuff for you. Copilot can also look at the data from the web, or it can look from the data from within your network. Now, the web, you're going to get all kinds of information, right? Copilot pulls all that in. The data from within your network, it should be more pertinent to what you're wanting to ask and what you're wanting to find out. However, Microsoft built this in conjunction on top of the security that already exists in their Active Directory structure. So all that security that Microsoft has for your network is already built in, and Copilot is referencing against that to make sure that the person that asked for the information has rights to that information. I mean, what you don't want is, Joe out on the plant floor going to Copilot and saying, hey, show me the last 12 months of financial statements, especially if you're a privately held company, right? Joe doesn't have rights to get into those. So Copilot's just going to go, sorry, Joe, it ain't going to happen. I'm not sure how he's going to tell Joe that, but it's going to tell Joe it can't do that task. So all that security, your HR files, everything that's there is protected behind the existing security system that is Microsoft. So it really ties it in tight and makes sure that you don't have to run the risk of getting information out there that you shouldn't be getting out. Now, what's side of the screen is the Copilot button that is in PowerPoint. And when I click on it, it's not that big, it's up in the menu bar. But when I click on it, then I get the prompt box. And that's where it says, ask me anything about this presentation. And this is where I can either start building presentations, I can have it look at an existing presentation that I've opened up and ask it to improve it, change the pictures, change the text, add more slides. I can have it do that just as if I was talking to somebody and wanting them to do it for me. Again, it's the natural language part that I think is really key here, along with everything else that happens. But you talk to Copilot now. You're not choosing menu options. You're talking to it, whether it's through your microphone or you're typing into this prompt box here. You're going to ask it questions. And you see down at the bottom in bold, Copilot built 50% of this presentation for me in about 30 seconds. Running behind, right? Last week, running behind, trying to figure it out, got to get it built, sat down, opened up a brand new PowerPoint presentation, opened up Copilot inside PowerPoint, and I said, build me a presentation that's 10 slides in length for executives to give a information about how to use Copilot in your company. And in about 30 seconds, it gave me 10 slides. 3 of them I think I threw away. More of them I modified. I modified the text that you see. I might have changed out some pictures, and then I added some slides of my own. But it got me the basics already for me in 30 seconds. How long would that have taken me before? Probably an hour or two. By the time I got my head around what did I want to do and how do I want to do it and lay them out and try and find pictures, which I'm awful at. So I always usually have these white slides with black printing on them. I mean, it just did everything better for me as soup starter, if nothing else, right? It got me that time. Think about that when you're in Excel or you're in email or you're in CRM or you're in Word. You need to draft an email or you need to draft a document. How do I do that? We all sit there and stare at a blank screen for a while until we start writing. In this case, you could go to Copilot and say, hey, I need a summary email to my sales team about where we're at in the sales cycle this month and where we need to be. Boom, it'll generate one for you. And then you can look at it and go, that's close. I don't like that. Try again. Yeah, this is good. Make it colder, make it warmer. You can have it basically be your editor, but that saves a huge amount of time and it makes it easier for you to do things. Now, if you're like me, I tend to like to write my own stuff, but I've noticed that for some of this, it's just easier to have it go ahead and throw me a first draft out because as I continue to prompt it back, it's kind of figuring out what styles that I like, and it's getting better with that. So Copilot's built into most of the products. If you've got an M365 license, you can add a Copilot license to it. So you get basically the entire Microsoft Office suite. It's going to be in there. It's certainly all throughout BC now, Business Central. What you're finding is that every time Business Central does another release to the environment, about once every 6 months, there's more places that Copilot resides, and you'll see the icon on the menus, and it allows you to get more information out of there. It's certainly in Dynamics for Sales. We use that internally. So this thing, it's the natural language part that really makes it much easier for those of us who may not be programmers or really good at a certain process, in Excel or in Word, to make our lives easier, make them faster, and make us more professional in our presentations back to people in the way we do that. So, here's some real life examples, if you will, from our team that have been using it now for, several, probably 6 months in various levels to a couple of people just been in a month. But my sales team is saying, look, on average, I'm saving 4 to 5 hours a week of work that I can now apply to something else. And that's huge. I mean, just do the math, right? If you're an executive, or if you're a department lead, or you're none of those, you're just like, look, I'm a salesperson. But you're telling me if I ask these questions to this new tool, I'm going to say 4 to 5 hours a week, which is 4 to 5 hours more I can be with my customers, and less that I'm having to do mundane work or searches. That's huge. So, there's finding savings in meetings. Copilot can make the meeting notes for you. So you got a Teams meeting going on. It can make the meetings notes. It can have a list of who got assigned what tasks just from the conversations that are happening in that meeting. And it can even, believe it or not, I've seen it actually go, these are the reactions we were getting: a little terse, there was confusion, they were happy. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how all that's pulling together, but it's actually somewhat fairly accurate. But the best part is, I don't necessarily have to go listen. I missed the meeting. I don't have to spend an hour listening to it to figure it out. Or I don't have to look for an email from somebody who ran the meeting telling me what my jobs are or what I got assigned. I can ask Copilot, go do that and come back for me, and it will take care of that for you. In CRM, is speeding up the quoting processes. I need to find another quote that was just like that. Copilot, find me a quote on InsightWorks for a full-fledged distribution company that is running BC SaaS. And it'll go out there and it'll look for it, and it'll come back and go, okay, here's 3 options for you. Which then allows the salesperson to go, I can just copy and paste and edit an existing one and save a lot of time trying to build one. It can do analysis on the transactions. What are the subscriptions for this customer? How are they doing? And also summarizing the opportunities and the activities. When was the last time I talked to this person? Who should I talk to next week based on dates? I mean, you can really start slicing and dicing with this, and it just adds huge productivity to what people are doing. And what I tell people is, look, this is a tool. Okay, this is a tool for you. This is no different than any other tool we use. And I like people to go back in time. And for those of you that are way too young, you're not going to be able to go far enough back. But for those of us that have gray hair and have age, remember when the web came out, right, in the 90s? And all of a sudden, you could type in an IP address and see somebody else's stuff, what they're trying to sell. And then it got simple. I could type in Amazon.com and see somebody that was trying to sell something. And then this little bitty company came along that called Google. And Google created this, just a white screen with a box on it, and said, type in what you're searching for here. Okay, Google, I'm searching for lawnmowers. And up comes a whole slew of lists that I can click on and go to. The tool made the underlying technology phenomenally better at how people can do things. This is the same paradigm shift. It is amazing what this thing can do with our existing tools and data to make them better. In email, I mean, my sales team and some of my other teams are doing handsprings over what what the email integration, the ability to tell Copilot to look at these things, what it's done for them. The searching, consolidating, all those tasks, the summarizing, following up on tasks. You can ask it to go look at this and it will tell you that. And I'll give you a real world example that happened today. I was on the phone with one of our ISVs. We were discussing an issue. I knew somewhere in my sent box, there were 3 or 4 emails that I had sent to them. Now, I wasn't bright enough to also carbon copy myself on them, so I got a copy and stored it over in their folder. But I'm like, I got to find these things. I opened up Copilot inside Outlook and I said, I need you to find all the emails for this vendor regarding this topic that I've sent. And literally within 5 seconds, there was the 4 that I was really looking for. And they stretched over a year and a half. Now think, I had even tried the search box and tried to search for these things and I couldn't get them. I couldn't find them. But Copilot found them immediately because I was able to just give it a natural language. Here's what I'm looking for. And then it made the conversation with the vendor immensely easier because I had it right in front of me, because I hadn't had time to try and track them down before. So, trying to track those down, maybe it would have taken 5 minutes, maybe it would have taken an hour because I would have had to just grind through everything. This did it for me literally in seconds. And we're finding that with more and more of our people that are using this on a regular basis. Up here at the top right hand, you see an example of the Business Central menu bar, and on the left there is the Copilot symbol, right? So any place the Copilot's available to you in Microsoft Business Central, you're going to see that. And you can click on it as you get into your tasks and ask it questions about the data that is being shown on your screen. So, our people are using it to improve bank rec. Places I use it, I go into the item ledger or the customer ledger and I say, hey, I want to see the sales, show me everybody that's had 200,000 or more for this time period, or show me everybody that's had 200,000 or more for annual enhancement with this time period and a move to BC. I mean, now it gets a little crazy, right? And sometimes it's like, yeah, I can't quite get there. It's like, good, but if you just keep pushing that envelope, eventually it learns and it's able to go, I got the data or I don't. And so as somebody who maybe isn't in Business Central, your accounting package all the time, but you have rights to see this and you go, look, I'd really like to see an item analysis. But if I just open the item ledger screen with the grid and all the data, yeah, I can walk through the menus and try to come up with the sales analysis report I want. Or I can say, Copilot, show me all the, how many items or how many of each I've sold of this item grouping or this item classification, and break it out by month. And it will do that for you. So again, you're talking to Copilot. You're not choosing menu options to do this. And as time progresses along and Copilots get better and more extensive, we're going to find that you're going to be able to do a whole lot more in there than you had before. And it's a case of maybe I don't need to teach somebody the software if Copilot's smart enough to be able to make their answers, which just make life easier across the board in some cases. And then obviously, accounting tells Copilot, pull me this data. Okay, export it out to Excel. And boom, there's an Excel spreadsheet. So this is all the methodologies that people are coming up with to find that time during the day to save yourself. Now, one last real world example, and this is again a personal one. This is something I did early in the year. Hopefully a lot of you joined us for our customer conference if you're a customer, but if not, one of the things we did was, we had several sessions and we scanned people's badges as they came into the session. We needed a simple scanning app and I didn't want to pay a lot of money for it from other companies. So I said, hey, we ought to be able to build one in the Power Apps, which I knew we could. And, we danced around with it a little bit and I said, I'm an old programmer. I'm like, I'll take this. This will be fun. CEO, everybody's eyes just rolled in the back of their heads. But nevertheless, we got there. But the point is, I sat down to Power Apps, opened up Copilot, and I said, I need build me an app that allows me to scan 2D barcodes and have a drop down for all the sessions. And that was it. And I clicked on it and it built this for me. It took about a minute to build the core. It not only built the applications, but it built the data tables structurally that I needed to fill in or would be filling in if I hit save. Now think about that for a minute, okay? If you're a company and you go, I'd really like to have something that does this, but I'm gonna have to call up Innovia to do it. They're gonna want a design doc and they're gonna want to do these things. And then they're gonna get it done rightly and good, but it's gonna cost me. But it's so simple. I ought to be able to do it another way. If I have a Power App license and I have a Copilot license in there, then I can just tell it, look, build one of these for me. Maybe your IT person can do that. It could be somebody else that just really likes to play around with this stuff and go, yeah, I can try that. And you build it yourself. I mean, if I'd have gone out and bought this from somebody, it would have been at least 5 or 10 grand. As it was a couple of weekends for me because I kept tweaking with it and playing with it and screwing around with it. But it was quick, right? It was fun. And that the screen was close to this, quite frankly, when it got done, and I just tweaked it on out from there. So that's a way that it can help you build Power Apps or Power BI reports. It can help you with formatting and data analysis and all those things in Excel that we do occasionally, but we don't always know we do. And we don't, and then we have to remember how to do it. Now we're going to YouTube videos or asking somebody else. And seriously, I mean, I realize I'm popping my own balloon here because I'm telling you you can do this inside without coming to us, but it does reduce your outside development cost if you can utilize this with the citizen programmer concept of Microsoft. They're big on this and they're really integrating these tools and they're doing a very, very nice job. So as you're going, what's my ROI? Where are my savings? How do I get better? This is where this stuff all is, guys, and it really is strong. And then the final real world one is training. So, you can take, let's say, an engineering design sheet that says this is how you put together this product. And you can point Copilot to it and say, build me a 2-page instruction piece from that document. And then I want 3 multi-choice questions at the end of it, 4 options in each question, and put in bold the real option, the right answer. And it'll build it for you in seconds. And I know it will because I've done it with our own internal learning and documentation, where we were trying to build some internal training things from a bunch of write-ups that our high quality people, our application people had built in all kinds of different documents, but we were trying to consolidate it and get it together and get it consistent. That didn't take me any time at all. I just pointed it and said, do it. Then we looked at it and it got it right. It even got, it got the answers right. It built the questions, it built the syllabus, it built the documentation, and it put it in a format that makes sense. So you're in effect creating your own little LMS along those lines. And it's not hard. I've got their open word in the prompt, point to the document, ask it to build, training material, and it'll start doing those things. Again, do you have to play with the prompt a little bit? Sure. You have to move it around a little bit, re-ask some questions, have it do it again. You do, but you're training Copilot and Copilot's training you on how to be best at the prompt. So let's see, I'm getting a little short on time. How we do this is the easiest way to do it. We've done it internally and we can help you do this internally. Early adopter team, ask for some volunteers. We tended to max out at 6. These people, we're going to get them each a license. They're going to hit this. They're going to have fun with it. We have, bi-weekly meetings. We're going to look at that and say, okay, what'd you learn here? How did you do it? What'd you find? And it's cross-departmental. I got somebody from ops. I got somebody from finance. I got somebody from sales, and we're sharing information. And then we have a 1-hour meeting. In our case, we have it every other week or twice a month, but in your case, maybe it's once a month. But you get that's a all company meeting. And you go, okay, we're going to show you guys how this is helping us and what to do. And your early adopters are going to demonstrate the value and the benefits they're finding to the rest of the company. And most importantly of all, with any project, you need executive buy-in. So, this came from me. I looked at my CTO and my team. I went, we are going to do this and we're going to take it to our customer base. You as a CEO or you as a C-suite level or you as a department head, you need to buy into this and say, guys, we are going to do this. Okay, we're not going to not do it. We may move not quite as fast as I would like, but we're going. And we're going forward because this is no different than any other tool we use in our system. And be very, very clear to your team. This is not a replacement for staff. I'm not trying to get rid of somebody's job. What I'm trying to do is open up time for you so that you can do more important tasks. Because again, nobody puts in an ERP system or any other system in the world, and nobody puts in Copilot with the idea of reducing headcount. So, quickly, the ROI, in all honesty, just take your hourly cost for an employee, take the $30 a month it's going to cost for a license for them, and go, how many hours do I have to save in a month for this thing to equal itself out? And it tends to be around 2. Right? If you can't find 2 hours in savings in Copilot, well, give us a call and we'll help you out because I guarantee you I can find 10 in a given month for anybody. And that's what we're finding. We know it's say 8 on there. Guarantee you can find 8 hours a month of labor savings per person that is using the system. And your people are going to be happier. That mundane task that I have to do, I don't have to do that anymore. So you get a better utilization of all of your staff. You get a better utilization of time. You get better analytics. You get better quality data, and everything from that perspective is in much better shape. So sorry I went a little long. I know I went a little fast. Happy to take any questions here. Happy for you to shoot me an email if you come up with a question later on, and we can certainly help you through those things. So Angie, there any questions we've got?
Yes, we have a couple.
Okay.
Can you explain the requirements for the Copilot license?
Within reason. So you need an M365, and I would have you talk to our sales team for more, but it's a license that applies per user. So if Angie's got an M365 license and I'm going to get her a Copilot license, that's an add-on. I would, there's an add-on for me. So both of us are paying $30 a month for that license. It's not included in any existing package. So these are add-ons along those lines. There is also a Copilot Studio where you can actually build your own Copilots, if you will. That's a different price. It's not included in the 30. The 30 is really get me into all my applications everywhere so that I can always see that Copilot and have it there. And if you got more questions on that, I would, recommend that you either shoot us an email or contact your customer service manager here at Innovia, and we can get you far more details.
Okay, great. Thanks. One more. It sounds like that the prompt is super important. How do we find training for learning better prompting?
Yeah, good. It's funny. So that is the question that's flowing around out in the world, because everybody is going, how are these prompts? How do we do this? Believe it or not, there's actually classes now that are being taught on how to do prompts. And it's becoming a job that somebody does for a company. So just a little tidbit there. But there's a lot of videos out there in YouTube that are already out there, and just go, okay, this is the way that you ask the question. From my perspective, in all honesty, it's trial and error. And I know that sounds awful to a degree, but it's the best learning method you have. Copilot, show me this. And it kind of gets there. So like, all right, I'm gonna try it again. Copilot, show me the following with these conditions. And I get closer. And then I keep just practicing. So, we're going to certainly have some videos from our perspective that we'll have on how to build a good prompt, but that's not up there yet, but we will certainly get those out there. There is other areas out there that you can find in YouTube and other searches. The other thing I did notice, I apologize, you can ask Copilot how to build the prompt. You would think that's circular reasoning, right? The Copilot's just going to keep saying the same thing, and it doesn't. It can get you started. Copilot, how do I ask you about working with Excel? And it can come up with some ideas. And it can search the web, right? In that case, tell it to search the web, and it can go out there and come back with all kinds of cool stuff. So, but ultimately it is practice. Just get better, because you'll learn better, and Copilot will learn better along those lines.
All right, I think that's all the questions that we have. I am going to put a link in the chat for all of you, and this is to reference back to our previous webinar on how to prompt Copilot, so you can review that. And I just want to thank everyone for attending our webinar, or if you're watching on demand, thanks for taking the time out to watch this. And thank you, Alan, for the great presentation.
Sure. Thanks, folks. Appreciate it.
And if you haven't already registered for our other Copilot series webinars, you can do so. I put that link in the chat. And we just look forward to seeing you on another Innovia webinar. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.